Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching The Political Vigilante. My name is Graham Elwood. Our first story today is this came out earlier today. Pete Buttigieg is a lying mofo. Let's show that on the big screen.
Such a cool article.
Right. And this author, Michael Harrod, I'm not familiar with him. This came out last night. But this is a really well-written article.
Absolutely. And it went viral, and deservedly so. And Pete Buttigieg is a lying MF has been trending on Twitter for about a day now. Mm-hmm. And this article's brilliant. And
Sure.
Should I say the quote that I love the best?
Well, first let's just go into basically it's going into several things. So this came out. This is quote Pete Buttigieg has said: kids from lower income minority neighborhoods don't have someone they know personally who testifies to the value of education. Pete Buttigieg, 2011 South Bend mayoral candidate, right? And he said several things about. And I'm sure he was trying to be a good white liberal and say that these kids, inner city black kids don't have the same role models and they don't have confidence was the big thing that he said. And so this author, I'll read this quote and then you can get into here. This is from the article. It says, "This is not a misunderstanding. This is not a misstatement. Pete Buttigieg went to the best educational institutions America has to offer, and he, more than anyone on the goddamn planet, knows that everything he just said is a bald-faced lie." And it's pretty spectacular how this author calls out Pete Buttigieg. So what were you going to say?
Well, and the author also goes on to break down all the other things. Like, hey, here's why we have a really big discrepancy and inequality in education. Here's why. Right. And it's because of the way students are disciplined. It's because of the way institutions are funded.
Yeah, so I'll touch on that.
He breaks down all that. There we go.
Majority minority schools receive $23 billion less in funding than majority white schools, according to a recent study by EdBuild, right? Mm-hmm. So that right there. So it's not about, this is the thing why.
It's a lot of money.
It's about, there's a lot of money. So it's not just about, they don't have confidence. It's that they're funded less.
Yeah. Well, and this guy lays out all these statistics, all this data, and Pete Buttigieg is just talking about places he has no clue about.
Yes.
He grew up in an ivory tower. A metaphorical ivory tower. His parents were both academics, and there's nothing wrong with that. My dad's a professor. Your dad was a professor as well. But, he grew up very sheltered. He went to, one of the top private schools in the country.
And then he went to Harvard.
And
being a white kid with a good education, a good high school education, that helps you get into Harvard. Mm-hmm. And also, you and I know this, is we're both middle-class kids with college-educated parents. Both of our fathers were professors. We knew, and our parents made sure we went. I mean, I went to good public schools. You went to a Catholic school, right? So right there, we were already had a foot up.
Yeah, I mean, it's a thing where it's like, I grew up middle class, but I also grew up in a family, my parents were academics. So education was just placed. It was a big thing. Yep. So the moment I was born, there was a college savings account set aside. I got very lucky.
Yes, you and I both. So you have a sister. I'm the youngest of four. And both of we had very similar middle class, college educated parent upbringings where, again, it was like, you're going to college. That was a foregone conclusion. Right. It was always, when you go to college, we're paying for it and you're going. That's it. You need good grades in high school so you can go to a good college.
And that was the deal. I had a savings account. I had a certain amount of grades. When your parents are academics, you get a lot of tuition relief. That's one of the benefits that goes along with that too. And, I worked in the summers, whatever. So between all those things, I was able to go to college and not go into massive amounts of debt like a lot of other people do. If it wasn't for those certain things that were just, particular to my family, I would have had loads of student debt, or I wouldn't have gone to college at all. Oh. And so I'm not going to go around trying to encipher why people do or don't go to college and who does or doesn't have this confidence or that confidence. You know what I mean? Like I'm not going to kind of like...
Yeah, you don't know. You don't know what you're talking about.
You don't know.
Especially when there's this statistic that was also in the article. Black students in Indiana, the state where Buttigieg serves as mayor, and across the country are disciplined more harshly than white students. Mm-hmm. I saw this firsthand. Okay, I lived in Madison, Wisconsin, which is a largely white liberal college town. I moved to Evanston, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago. Evanston was. What's that?
Sorry.
I don't know why that's playing. I moved to Evanston, Illinois. Evanston was integrated for over 100 years. When the Civil War ended, freed slaves and all Southerners of all ethnicities came north to industrial jobs in the late 1800s, and Chicago was an industrial hub. Evanston was one of the first places where black people could own real estate. So then I lived in this, my junior high was 60% black. My high school was 40% black. And while I saw how we were treated differently. You know, I did some dumb juvenile things when I was like in high school, shot bottle rockets out of a car, and we got busted by the cops, and it was a bunch of white kids, and we got slaps on the wrist. Mm-hmm. We got like, oh, boys will be boys, settle down, you've got a bright future ahead of you in college, get it together. And I saw guys that I played football with in high school treated so much differently than the police, treated differently from the teachers. I would shoot my mouth off in class and I would, oh, Graham, enough. And they would be like, this is absolutely true. Discipline more harshly than whites. This is absolutely true. And it was like, it was so many things that like, and I also knew kids that were white that had working class parents.
Yeah.
And they weren't told, oh, you're going to, there was like, well, I don't know how you're going to pay for college. You better get a scholarship. So It's like Pete Buttigieg comes from not just being the privilege of being a white person, but a upper middle class white person,
right?
Where you have even more privilege, and so he doesn't know what he's talking about.
He has no idea what he's talking about. No idea. I
did a video where in the mayor of South Bend, so he likes to applaud. You know, he likes to give himself credit for he revitalized downtown. Okay, I'll give you credit for that, but it was sort of the typical gentrifying of downtown, bringing in big business, and then the black neighborhoods, largely that are lower income. There's a quote from a guy's like, I've never seen the dude. Mm-hmm. You know, so this is Pete Buttigieg. And then we saw, and this infuriated me that this wasn't brought up in the debates. A week or so ago, he took that photo of like black activists and photoshopped in, they took out his name and put it, or took out their cause that they were. I'll bring up the photo in a second.
Yeah. He took credit for it.
Yeah, he took credit for it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, and that might have been what spawned like a lot of the, because I think that when he did that, when he took credit, you know, from the black community that wasn't his to take, I think that spawned that video from 2011 surfacing, and then that probably spawned this article, you know, because this article was largely in response to that video.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of the timeline there. My favorite quote from it is he goes on to say, he's like, Pete Buttigieg has no interest in changing anything. He just wants to be somebody.
Yeah.
Which I think that completely summarizes everything about this dude. Why does some guy who's barely figured out how to be a mayor think he has any business being president of the United States? Well, narcissism, and you know, you think, oh, this is going to be next for me or whatever. I've barely figured out how to be a mayor. I'm going to go on to be president. In the last debate, he did say one thing about farming that I liked.
Well, yeah, any of these candidates can say, you know, they'll all say something that you go, oh wow, that's
yeah, I'm on board with that. I guess we have that one thing in common.
Yeah, it's
except for Biden. I don't think there's anything Biden says that hasn't ticked me off yet.
No, I can't
think of one thing.
Biden does not possess the ability, you know, he doesn't possess the ability to...
Even when it comes to ice cream, he's annoying. He's that guy that has to hold the blizzard upside down when he gets it. It's like, really, dude, they do that for you.
Yeah.
The employees do that. That's their thing. Just let them do it. You don't have to do it again. What's wrong with you?
Yeah,
you're annoying.
Yeah, it's annoying. I want to find this. I can't seem to find this photo that Pete Buttigieg put.
Yeah, no one did bring that up in the debates. No one brought that up. No one brought up. But I think he's going to be the next that they really go after. because, so far it's like they're unmasking Biden. They're unmasking Kamala. I think he's got to be next.
Well, they keep, here's the thing, is they keep trying to push these corporate Dems down our throat. And it's like, they can't seem to, none of them sticks because everyone's kind of onto their game. Here's the thing is, as we were just talking about with Kevin Ronca's movie, is they're doing the same tactics from 2016, right? They're doing the same tactics from 2016. But let me read.
Oh, did you find it?
Yeah, here it is. Well, here's one. There's several that I've seen. First of all, let me make this a little bigger. So, on top of everything else, the Buttigieg campaign used a stock photo from Kenya to promote its Frederick Douglass plan for Black America. Right?
Okay.
This is the Kenya on the right. You see, it's from Kenya. And then this is this Douglas plan, right? Mm-hmm. But there's even photos he's put up there of protesters where they I can't seem to find it one where they're like, you see these, it's like a tight photo of a big protest, but there's like 5 or 6 people in this tight photo and they're holding up protest signs. Mm-hmm. And their signs said something else, like Black Lives Matter. And then he photoshopped it out and put Buttigieg 2020. Like, I saw that on Twitter. I gotta find that, man, because it's like, it is such bullshit, man.
I wonder if the person who came up with that idea is the same person that came up with that stupid dance that he has.
Oh God,
it's so ridiculous. I wish Panic at the Disco, that's the band that does the song, I wish they would step in and be like, stop using our music. We're not a fan of you as a politician. We'd appreciate it if you not use our music. I love it when musicians do that. It's really freaking cool when it happens. Reagan. Most legendary, Springsteen did it to Reagan. And then I think somebody did it to Bush, but I forget who it was. But someone did it to Bush. And I think Tom Petty, before he passed, did it to Trump, I'm pretty sure.
Well, yeah, it's the thing is like, I want to put this out there. So this was in the LA Times, and this was an article in the LA Times, an op-ed piece in the LA Times, because I fell for Pete Buttigieg at first, but he keeps screwing things up with black voters. And this is what he keeps doing. And I think this is what you're talking about is the response. This article that he's a lying motherfucker, it's because of this. And this is like the problem. The corporate Democrats keep running campaigns like it's the goddamn 90s. Like that's the last time, they keep thinking this is gonna help them win. It's shit like this. Look at this. Oh, he's at a black church. Like, this is such a white corporate Democrat. Mm-hmm. Hey, I'm down. I've got Tabasco in my purse.
Right.
This is that moment. It's so ridiculous. And I'm so glad that this author brought it up. So I want to bring up, this is the thing, discipline more harshly. Here's some more statistics that are in this article. Buttigieg has never attended a school with more than 10% black students. He thinks he knows what's stopping black kids from achieving their educational dreams.
Yeah. And it's like you have no business making statements like that when you come from a place where it's like you had everything to accomplish yours.
Yeah.
Like you had everything to accomplish yours. And it's like, you and I both know, like, education was a big deal where we grew up. But there's plenty of other people, like plenty of neighbors, where that wasn't the case. Maybe they had a different thing that they did. They weren't academics. They were doing whatever else. So it just wasn't a big deal. It wasn't something you thought about. It wasn't, well, maybe I'll go to college. Maybe I won't, whatever. And if I want to go, I'm on my own. That happens all the time too. And we saw that. Pete Buttigieg, grew up in the ivory tower, and now he's making these blanketed statements that he has no business making.
And the difference is, like, Bernie Sanders recognizes the inequities and stuff like that and says, like, if we forgive student debt loan forgiveness, and free public colleges and universities, so now this is how you fix the inequities or the cultural differences of putting a priority on college, because some people's like, it's just not affordable, forget it. I remember reading an article about children of oil people in Texas who are largely white were told, you don't need to go to college. We discovered oil. You're good. You just do that, and even today kids are like, oh, just, develop an app and you'll become a billionaire or whatever, and so it's like Bernie Sanders is saying everybody deserves to have the way you and I were born into you're going to college no matter what. Everyone should have that same thing. And that addresses the inequities of this in this country.
Big time.
Not Buttigieg's just pandering bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I taught at a community college.
Right.
And, a lot of my students were, they were all ages. Some of them were, just out of high school. Others were adults that, came back to school later. But nearly all of them were working multiple jobs in most cases. They were, and at times when it came down to, I have to do something, for my family, or I have to, be at work, they would have to miss class.
Yeah.
They would have to, they would have to know what the absence policy is immediately, because they were going to have to pretty much use all of them. And it was a really big bummer, man. It was really sad to see that people were working so hard, to just try to get an education, try to get a fair shot. And, I was just teaching public speaking. So I was just a gen ed requirement that they had to take to move on to what they wanted to do, what they wanted to specialize in. And, it's a shame that we don't live in a society where college is tuition free.
Yeah. And
you still have to manage your time, obviously, but if it was tuition free, that would make a huge, huge difference, because they wouldn't have had to pick up that part-time job to pay for it.
Well, let's talk about that. Another thing that this author brought up in the article is it's not the fact that the unemployment rate for black college students is twice as high as the unemployment rate for white grads. Black college graduates are paid 80 cents for every dollar a white person with the same education earns. So again, Pete doesn't even know what he's talking about. And I'm so glad that we just keep, every time they try to push some new corporate Democrat at us, they get the truth comes out. Like, more people are paying attention now. This is what I say is the difference between 2016 and now. Way more people are paying attention.
Yeah. People are paying attention, and they're paying attention with a magnifying glass.
Yes.
They are looking. And honestly, this article, which is beautiful, I love this article. Shout out to Michael Harriot.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with him. I wasn't familiar with him.
I wasn't familiar until now.
I've read a lot from The Root before, and this guy nailed it big time.
Nailed it hard.
And honestly, this might be what sinks Pete Buttigieg.
I hope.
So there's an update. Pete Buttigieg contacted this guy, which neither of us have looked into, and let's talk about it in real time.
Let's talk. Here's talk about.
So what happened?
In
the words of Hillary Clinton, what happened?
So he called him like 2 hours ago. And Pete Buttigieg says, wow, I've never been called a lying motherfucker before. And then here's a quote from what the author said. He goes, we have to disabuse ourselves from the notion that the problem with educational inequity is because of an esoteric lack of support. I explained, that's a lie. And a man as educated as yourself knows it's a lie. And to regurgitate that narrative publicly is not just dangerous, it's malpractice. If your goal was to fix the problems in America's schools, why would you even mention confidence? A president can't fix confidence, and you can't say black kids don't have confidence in the system without pointing out all of the reasons they shouldn't have confidence in the system. It's like...
And then did he say, have a nice day, good luck to you?
Yeah, it's like...
good for him.
Good for him.
What did Buttigieg say to that?
Yeah, what
did they tell you?
Let me tell you what he said.
Did he say, oh, come on, man? Is that what he said? Oh, are you... It's not fair. Did he say you should vote Trump then? Did he pull Joe Biden?
No, he just said, well, you're an Assad apologist. Like when Tulsi was kicking his ass in the debates, he just went, oh, but I.
Or did he just glare at the guy? Like, remember when the one guy in the debate, was it Swalwell or who was it? I don't think it was Swalwell because I don't remember any farting, but somebody was like, why didn't you just fire the police chief?
Right.
When they were speaking of another racist thing that happened, when that whole thing went down with racism in the police force, Pete Buttigieg did nothing about it, and they were just like, "Why didn't you fire the chief?" And he just glared at the guy. He had no answer. He had no answer. So he just glared at the guy.
He's a CIA Democrat. He's just,
and he can say that in 7 languages.
Yeah, he can say that in 7 languages, and it's like, is that so? This is what the author goes into about the. when Buttigieg calls, he goes, I figured one of his surrogates would argue with me for a few minutes and I could continue my day trying to be a thorn in the side of white supremacy. Luckily, as soon as I hit the phone, the voice sounded vaguely familiar, and it wasn't. It was Pete Buttigieg who said, I don't think I've ever been called lying motherfucker before. It was Pete. Well, I thought Mayor, maybe he does want to fight. And he talks about how his cousin D knew...
had a black friend?
Yeah, well, his cousin D... well, no, it's the author's cousin D
the author's
knew
cousin.
Peter,
Okay,
knew Buttigieg.
I thought Pete was talking about one of his cousins.
Yeah.
Hey, one of my cousins has a black friend. Listen.
Yeah. And so that's really part of it.
That would make it funnier.
Right.
That would.
But here's what he does say. The author gives Pete at least a not that he needs to, but Pete Buttigieg didn't want to tell me his side of the story. He didn't excuse himself by explaining that the comments referenced by the article were made years ago. He didn't even try to explain his plan for Black America. I think the context was important, especially the fact that it was before I took office. Bullshit.
So he did try to deflect.
Yeah. For 18 minutes and 45 seconds, we talked about educational inequity, poverty, and institutional racism in America and how to fix it. Okay, I'm lying.
I love this guy.
I don't know how to fix shit. As I explained to the presidential candidate, for some reason, I had to refrain from effectively calling him Mr. President. My problem with his comments was not that they were wrong, that he knows they were wrong. And then it goes in that quote that I just read.
Right.
I conceded that the problems with institutional racism are so complex and go back so far that I'm not sure that anyone, a mayor, a governor, or even a president could fix them. Buttigieg, however, insisted that there are some things that people in power could do to make things more equal, a point I actually agreed with.
Right.
I don't think there are some ways... I do think, this is Buttigieg, I do think there are some ways to attack these issues with policies that might solve these issues, but would certainly help. Do you disagree with the point I was making? Mayor Pete asked, listing a few programs designed to alleviate the specific problems. Sometimes children can't get to see the possibilities. Do you think the lack of positive examples of educational success can lead to mistrust and lack of confidence in the system? No. Well, yes, I answered. That's the author. But the lack of confidence doesn't have anything to do with the role models or support from parents. It's because the shit is true.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's like the author said earlier. It's just like, you can't say, oh, they don't have confidence in the system without saying, well, why do they feel that way?
Right.
And then you look at the statistics this guy just listed. Hey, let's talk about some policies to start solving those problems.
Right.
It's kind of like, they don't disagree that there's an issue, but they have two very different definitions of what that issue is. One is actually looking at the issue with what's going on. The other is making these blanket generalizations about a group of people that he has no business making, and it's actually pretty ignorant.
Yeah. I mean, Buttigieg agreed that the insipid family values argument has no place in political discussions because, as noted, it infers that black parents don't know the importance of healthy family structure. Yeah, that's that racist conservative family values that white Christians, conservatives are better morally. That's so offensive. But here's what the author did say, though. It goes, it's not like black parents wake up in the morning and say, I'ma just withhold my support and teach my kids about dishonesty and see what happens, I explained. No one knows the value of a two-parent home more than a single mother. So why is this important to black voters? Here's why black voters support black candidates, I said. When you go into a room and sit around a table of white men, we are worried that this is what will happen, that a room full of white people will talk about role models and confidence and crime, and no one in the room will say, hold up, we can't talk about any of this without talking about racism. We can't talk about education without talking about discrimination. That is our fear. I mean,
awesome.
This is...
And you know what? I will say it's cool that Pete Buttigieg called the guy.
I'll give him credit for that.
I'll give him something for that. He called the guy. He, I think it's a bit not ridiculous, but I think it's like he opened up with, I don't think anyone's called me a lying motherfucker. Well, guess what? Someone just did. And how about you don't open with tone policing, Pete Buttigieg?
Well, I don't think he was opening. I'm sure he's trying to open with a joke, like lighten the mood.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Whatever.
Nah, that's fair.
I'm not defending Pete Buttigieg.
No. I know you're not. But yeah, I'll concede to that. He was probably trying to lighten it a little bit. And yeah, okay. Yeah, you're right. I see what he was doing there.
Yeah, and the author says, as I told the mayor, the article wasn't meant to inspire outrage. Its purpose was to make a necessary point about black voters and real issues. There is no way I can know if he is genuinely interested in engaging black voters, attacking discrimination, or crossing the racial divide. There are an infinite number of candidates who have waded into black barbershops or sashayed into black pulpits to assure us that they were on our side when they were only interested in our vote. I am not smart or prescient enough to tell the difference. The only thing I actually know about Pete Buttigieg is that he's a white man. But Pete Buttigieg listened, which is all you can ask a white man to do, unless, of course, he wants to fight. Well, I think,
I think this author's definitely smart enough to know the difference.
This author's
I think he's being very humble there.
Yeah,
this author's awesome.
Yeah, this is right on, and this is what we're seeing is the corporate Democrats. Their house of cards built on their bullshit identity politics is collapsing. Because first you have, let's go back several debates, when Tulsi called out Kamala, right? So she's a black woman. Well, wait a minute. You put 120,000 people of color behind bars.
And laughed about it. Still laugh about it. And when Tulsi, it was so great when Tulsi called her out because Kamala couldn't play the female card, the race card, because here's a woman of color that's a combat vet calling out her bullshit. So there was nothing she could do about that. It's then like when Tulsi Gabbard calls Hillary Clinton the queen of warmongers. Hillary can't play the sexist card. No, especially since Hillary probably thought it was a compliment at first.
Right.
She probably thought, she was just like, oh, that's a...
I should put that on a bumper sticker.
I like the idea of, I like that idea, queen. And
I'm with queen of warmongers.
And the arrow, of course, points to the right.
Yeah.
I'm with queen of warmongers.
So that's been great. When the gang endorsed Bernie, that blew up all the identity politics. And you saw all these mainly white feminist Warren supporters losing their shit on social media.
Yeah, 3/4 of the squad endorsed Bernie.
3/4 of the squad endorsed Bernie. And then Pete Buttigieg gets busted for this fake pandering, fake Kenyan, using a woman from Kenya for his thing, all of this fake, black support, going to the black churches thing, saying this comment that is now being called out, because who keeps endorsing Bernie? Cardi B, Killer Mike, Nina Turner is his front.
Which, speaking of Nina Turner, who I hope is president someday.
Yeah, for
Nina
real.
Turner, I mean, she was saying it in 2016. She was like, you have to earn the black vote. You don't own the black vote.
Yes.
And she was talking to the Democratic establishment when she said that.
Yes.
She's like, you have to earn it. You don't own it.
And she's not getting support in the black community for Bernie Sanders because he's doing this old, hacky, Tabasco sauce in the purse kind of nonsense, because Bernie actually has been fighting for it his whole life. Yeah. He got arrested for civil rights. You know what I mean? He's been fighting.
And he didn't even want to publicize that.
I know.
They wanted him to talk about, I mean, Sean King talks about that, where he's like, I wanted him to talk about it more, and he didn't want to.
He didn't want to. Because he didn't want to say, oh, look at me, I'm a big activist. He just keeps saying Medicare for all. He keeps saying all of these things, and it's why T.I., all these prominent black celebrities.
Yeah. Killer Mike came to him.
Killer Mike came to him.
And then speaking of which, I believe it was, I want to say it was Lil Nas X, but Pete Buttigieg wanted to collaborate on something, and the rapper said no.
No.
He was like, no. He's like, I don't know who I'm with yet, but I'm pretty sure it's not you.
It ain't you.
It ain't you. Yeah. So, and then Bernie Sanders, what was the other thing? And then when Black Lives Matter interrupted Bernie Sanders in 2016, he gave them the mic. He said, speak. What do you got to say? I want to hear what you have to say. Hillary Clinton told them to shut up and go away.
Yes. Hillary Clinton, that's a video I didn't see circulating a lot on MSNBC or CNN.
No.
Hillary Clinton telling a little black girl, get out of here. Mm-hmm. And when two black girls came on the stage, they weren't part of the speech for Bernie Sanders. He didn't go, hey, this is my time. He went, okay. He sat back and let them talk and let them have their voice. That just showed you who those people were. And when I didn't vote for Hillary, I was called a sexist.
Me too.
Hey, fuck off, man. Fuck you. She's a racist, rich white lady. Mm-hmm. How's that sound? And I'm glad that people are finally speaking out and calling out.
Well, and in fairness, I didn't vote for... Oh, wait, I did. I did vote for a woman. I voted for Jill Stein.
Oh, that's right. Oh, but that means you're a Russian asset, though.
Caught me there.
You're a Kremlin
Caught me
puppet.
there, but not a sexist Russian asset.
Right. There you go. I mean, Putin moved my hand to vote for Jill Stein because he's the marionette to my Russian puppetry. All right. So that's Pete Buttigieg.
Buttigieg.